Perry Marshall created a test that you can take that helps you discover essentially how you best communicate with people. Now, of course, he's a marketer or sells expertise to marketing people, and so that's the context of the test. So it's like, well, what kind of marketer are you? But this could apply more broadly, I think, to any type of communication, essentially. And it tests for several things. One of them is the communication style that you prefer between more spontaneous, extemporaneous versus more scripted. Now, um, it's easy maybe to think of someone who prefers more scripted communication as being kind of inferior. And what do I mean by unscripted? By a scripted communication, someone who prefers to release their communication in a more pre-thought out way. So, if you prefer to write, send someone an email versus have a phone call with them, you might be more of a scripted kind of communicator because on an email, you can edit that before it goes out into the world. And so, or before it goes to the person you're sending it to. Even a YouTube video, it's like, are you writing your points out ahead of time? Are you even writing out a full script, or are you winging it? And so there's advantages to both styles, and both styles have really useful components when it comes to marketing. So, for instance, I'm naturally, I would say, a more scripted person. Though I don't mind a camera, and if I'm comfortable, I am happy with a certain level of extemporaneous communication. But for instance, if I scripted out these videos and wrote them out, they would be way tighter, way more organized than me just kind of sitting here shooting the breeze with you. And now, you depending on who you are, you might prefer the shooting the breeze style as far as listening to it. But I'm sure that technically I would have a better video if I sat down, wrote it all out, had a good hook, had my three little points, and my neat little conclusion. Um, but back to the marketing thing. So, a really good extemporaneous type of marketer, if you will, might, or maybe it's almost the difference between marketing and sales, but someone that's really good extemporaneous, really fast thinking, good with words, good with conveying emotion in the moment, and good with, so back in the day when I was selling sheds, I didn't do great with selling sheds. And I think part of it was because I'm not a brilliant extemporaneous communicator, especially under pressure, right? And I often felt somewhat under pressure because I needed to, I needed to make this sale. I wanted to make this sale. I wanted to, somehow talk to people in a way that would make them buy from me, and there was this pressure to do that and to do that well. And whereas now, I would say most of my, not all, I still have sales conversations with people for my clients, but interacting with my clients, that is mostly scripted communication. Emails that are written out, ads that are written out. I can look at the wording. I can be like, I don't quite like the feeling that this word conveys. Let me get a different one. And so if you were to look at, my brilliance, it's going to be, I'd say, considerably heavier on the scripted side, particularly if it's something that I'm not quite as, not quite as tuned into. So it's something I have to give a little more thought on how I want to say it, what I want to say. Scripted just works pretty well for me, and extemporaneous not so much, I would say. And so, whereas someone who's really good extemporaneously, they might be a brilliant salesperson, or they might get up in front of a crowd and just have that, like a comedian, or have someone just, or like, well, comedians can be relatively scripted too, I suppose. But you see some comedians who are brilliant with kind of going off script, if you will, and they may have a stronger sort of extemporaneous element to their game, to their communication style. So anyway, I think it's just something cool to be aware of. It's like if you struggle to really articulate your thoughts clearly in the moment, it doesn't mean you're a bad communicator. It might just mean you're more of a scripted communicator. You need time to pull together really great organized thoughts. Whereas if you're really good extemporaneously, you might do really great in a conversational setting. But when it comes down to writing an email, it may your thoughts may be either you may struggle to even just to write, or and I'm not saying you can't be both, by the way, but you might struggle for someone who's more the extemporaneous style, they might struggle to get a beautifully written piece or a really strong recorded piece out, because of the way that their mind operates and the way that they communicate. Now, of course, like I said, I think you can be great at both potentially, but I think most of us have a way that we lean. We have a preference on how we like to communicate, and typically, if we can lean into our preference, we can probably do more good in the world than if we try to fight that. So, there are my relatively extemporaneous thoughts, but I will say, I did write down that concept. I did make a note of it that I should talk about that, and so even in my extemporaneous video, there was still a written component of it that helped it come into being. So anyway, whether your day is very spontaneous or whether your day is very scripted, I hope it's a good one.